I don't know how to start this one. Yeah, I am completely at a loss for words for what I actually just watched. Welcome back everyone to Talk Spurs Talk. It's getting hard. This is getting hard, and I don't really know what to say here. I knew. Okay, let me start this off properly. So Spurs, Spurs at OKC, Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. Spurs lose 114-127. We get a game high in points from Stephon Castle, but really this is the Julian Champagny game with 22 points, 8 rebounds on 50% from 3 and 53% from the field. On the other side of the ball, you have a 30 bomb from Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, you see me in a Spurs jersey every time I post these if you've never seen me before, which is very likely. I'm a Spurs fan. That's why this thing is called Talk Spurs Talk. It's why I sit here and record. I'm not making any money off these. I do this for fun. I would say, as far as objectiveness goes, I would say that I would be pretty objective when it comes to most of these kinds of games. Obviously, I'm sitting there and I'm clapping when a call goes our way. I love seeing biased calls that go in the favor of my team. But at the end of the day, I never think that a biased call or a biased game by a referee can ever let you lose by over 20 points in a game. Ever. And that's 20 points without garbage time, by the way. I do think it can sway a 10-point game. And I mean, I will start off by saying that this game was not the best showing from a lot of our players, but there was just several points in this game where the officiating was, I think, below league standard. And by league, I mean NBA standard. And there needs to be a serious conversation about what these referees are going to do. Because as much as I love biased referees that are going to help the Spurs, and as much as I hate biased referees that are going to diminish the Spurs' results, as a fan of basketball and as a fan of the game, I don't want to have to sit here and wait to see Game 6 where the Spurs are likely going to have their referee come out. Like, that's not... I want to see a 7-game series of OKC versus San Antonio where there isn't any referee bias. And I don't think I'm the only one out there. Obviously, I think there are a lot of opinions that would be skewed. Like if you are a diehard Thunder fan and a diehard Spurs fan, and you just care more about getting your team into the finals than you care about the game of basketball, then yeah, sure. But this is just not. This wasn't basketball tonight. Let's start off here. Where I would say that Lou Dort had actually probably one of his most underwhelming, but not exactly like bad games. I think he just 18 minutes of game time where he didn't really play that well defensively either when he was on the ball. Nothing crazy out of him here. Chet comes out of this one steaming hot, and I think that the Spurs did a good job changing up their game plan to make sure that Chet wasn't getting in there and beating him. But Wemby came in here defensively, not looking like the defensive player of the year. Not even looking like an all defensive player. To start off this game, and it was super close in the first quarter. Um, Wemby didn't look that great, and at this point, I don't really know what to do here because, again, it's when Wemby doesn't play well, he just looks tired. And originally, I thought that was like his endurance and everything. But is it like that he's starting to give up on the game once he's not playing well? Like, I really don't know what's going on. Um, there's no reason that in a must win game you have like one of your worst performances all series. And don't come at me with these like 20, what do you have? 20 points. 20 points that weren't really impactful all game. You don't see Wemby's impact through this game at all, really, and um, it's really frustrating. Um, but yeah, great game from Chet, great game from Isaiah Hartenstein. Both their bigs, I think, played a pretty clean offensive game where they were able to really take advantage on the glass. I mean, 26 rebounds combined by their bigs, on top of 27 points between the two of them. That is the kind of game that OKC will need to close out in San Antonio. Jared McCain starts off this game completely sucking, and I am so happy because even though I love Jared McCain, my Spurs are playing against him, and a bad Jared McCain game where they don't have their other two best players really would be what the Spurs needed here. And then the third quarter comes on, and this guy just makes up for like everything that he was doing wrong. And don't get me wrong, I still think that this isn't the best kind of game that you're going to see out of Jared McCain, but for his first playoff start, and I think on the broadcast they said he had a total of 11 starts in his career before this, this is what you want to see. Um, this is the true sign that he can come back to being that guy that we saw that he was number one in last year's Rookie of the Year campaign until he got injured. Um, I mean, Shea has 32 and 9 here, but shoots the ball super inefficiently, shoots 17 free throws, makes 16 of them. Not even really a free throw kind of game where I'm mad at Shea for how many times he got to the line. I think that obviously it's crazy when a player shoots 19 actual shots and 17 free throws. But I think more than him shooting these free throws, it was the Mitch Johnson technical, the refs not taking accountability for their own mistake and throwing that technical at him, avoiding his challenge request twice, asking for a jump ball on a clear out of bounds. They, I promise you, I do make cuts in these, but I'm not gonna cut this out, and I'm trying my best to not talk about how this game was officiated, but yeah, I mean, it comes down to the fact that let me say this real quick. When the Spurs win by 30, I still watch every second of the game when you get the Bismack Biyombo minutes, because at the end of the day, I get the pride in watching Bismack Biyombo play. If we lose by 30, I watch the Bismack Biyombo minutes. I watch these Carter Bryant minutes, especially the Carter Bryant minutes, because goddamn it, I love Carter Bryant and I want to see what this guy can do. This is the first, and especially playoff game, that I have turned off And I don't even think they subbed in yet. I don't even know. Did Bismack Biyombo even sub in this game? I think they played that out pretty much. Okay, the last 2 minutes of the game, they subbed in all the subs. Lindy Waters didn't even play, so I guess they put in Carter Bryant for those minutes. But what the fuck? I mean, genuinely. Yeah. Um. Again, on Alex Caruso, he trips Stephon Castle, then he walks away into the locker room to look at his ankle, and comes back in. And it was a pretty dirty trip. Um, it's okay to foul when you get beaten on defense because it's the playoffs and you need to make sure that the other team doesn't score. But he trips a running player, and I know it's not a flagrant. Don't at me if you're watching this. I get that it's not a flagrant. I get that there's no other levels to it. But to see this kind of play consistently out of Alex Caruso, where he takes advantage of the hard fouls and he gets away with it because he's a veteran, but Castle puts both hands up, Shea bumps into him, and people are talking about Castle needs to control himself. There's a point on this podcast where I was watching Reggie Miller, and this guy just keeps talking about how great Caruso is and what he does defensively and how that was a great foul by Caruso. But the second that Castle does the same kind of thing, it's, oh my God, look at this kid. He's still young. He doesn't know what he's doing out there. He's making these mistakes. And what I'm not understanding here is, one, half the time your co-hosts are disagreeing and saying that it's not a foul. You can go back and watch almost every Stephon Castle foul here. I don't think there's a lot. Let me just see towards the end of the game if he fouled out or not, but I don't think he did. Yeah, he doesn't. He stays in the game all game with 5.5 fouls. Yeah. I mean, games like this are deflating. Games like this as a fan make it that I don't want to watch a Tony Brothers officiated game. Like, I don't want to subject myself to this because I'm a pretty, like, when I support a sports team, I support a sports team. Like, it takes a whole, like, chunk out of me to see my team lose normally. But when my team loses normally, I'll come on here and talk about how shitty their effort was, as I did during Game 3. I don't think that was an officiating loss at all. That was a Spurs suck, and they played like shit loss. Game 2, I didn't make a video about. I hadn't thought about doing this before. I'm not going to say anything about that. But you know how Kenny Atkinson said, hey, analytically, we up 2-1. Ethically, Spurs win the series 4-1 in OKC, and they're playing the Knicks in a week. I just don't know how else to put it. This is some incredible shit, man. I'm gonna try again to not get on a tangent here. Let's talk about these Spurs. Devin Vassell offensively has a really bad night tonight, and you can see he was really frustrated. But what I love about Devin Vassell is, and I think he says this in his post-game interview, he will get back on defense. He has 3 steals in this one. You could see the intense defense he's playing all game. As bad as his shooting night was, he took himself out of the offensive game and really gave himself the defensive role in this one. And that's what I love about these two-way players, because for instance, I will always throw Kawhi out there as an example when I talk about two-way players, just because that's who I watched all my life growing up. When Kawhi had a bad offensive game, he didn't miss a step on defense, and vice versa. He's having a bad defensive game, which was always very rare. We're talking about a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year who almost had 3 in a row if it wasn't for some bullshit by Draymond Green. But yeah, he never really, like, one step came with the other sometimes, but if the other didn't show up, the other one was more intense. And that's what I saw with Devin Vassell here in this game. So bad offensive showing, but I love the defensive intensity. Champagny has a career high in the playoffs today with 22 points. Um, as I mentioned in the intro, I think it's a terrific game from Champagny. I think plus minus is a little bit of a skewed stat where we put in Champagny in these like losing areas, or maybe he isn't the greatest defensively. I don't think he's bad at all, by the way, but maybe he's not the greatest defensively. And yeah, he comes out of here with 4 personal fouls as well. And what I really liked from Champagny this game was he didn't settle on his threes. In this game, he shoots 15 shots and only 8 of those are threes. Versus a guy who maybe shoots like 70% of his shots from the 3 point arc. So this is, I think, an improvement. This is something I want to keep seeing out of Champagny, because I think you see him take advantage of these OKC bigs down in the paint, and I think that's pretty special for someone with his like more 3-and-D kind of skill set. And I would like to see a little bit more of that because he's able to create for himself off the dribble, and if we can continue to see that from Champagny, we may have a completely different showing in Game 6. I already talked a little bit about Wemby. I mean, the broadcast was saying it all night. He's being lazy, staying outside of the paint. 0 for 5 from 3, but again, I think I don't know if I said this on here, if I've said this to people I know, but I don't want to see Wemby shooting 5 threes in a game unless he's made 3 of them. He shouldn't be shooting that 5th 3 unless he's already made 2 of them. And that doesn't go to the fact that he can't make him. And I understand that's percentage wise, like, that's not always going to happen. But at the end of the day, stretch bigs are great. But Wemby is so dominant in the paint that you don't need him to be the stretch big. You need him in the paint. And even in the paint today, he was pretty lackluster. I mean, you take out these 3 point attempts, he's 40% from the field. Otherwise, you see a few missed layups, you see a few missed tips. He wasn't doing great on the glass this game. He only has 6 rebounds. Again, in comparison to the OKC bigs who come out with 26 rebounds. And I will say that a lot does end up falling on Wemby's shoulders here. A 20 points with 12 for 12 from free throw is not a real 20 points, just like SGA doesn't have a real 30 points. To me, I didn't see Wemby's intensity all game. And some of these free throws were just, I mean, I think it was an interesting decision by Mitch Johnson for when SGA got that take foul to give Wemby the free throw. And I think that was more to get Wemby in rhythm than anything, because I mean, I would rather have Castle shoot the free throw over Wemby, even if Castle's. But I guess maybe Wemby may have a better percentage, and I don't know exactly who was on the floor at the time, but having Wemby shoot it is an interesting idea, and maybe it is the same kind of thing that they talk about with SGA, where you just need to see a few free throws to go in before you can really start attacking, but you just don't see anything change out of Wemby in this game, and moving forward, I mean, you just can't have that from your best player. I'll move on here to Steph Castle, and I did talk about the difference between what happens with him fouling and what happens with, like an Alex Caruso. But I will say that Castle definitely put in the effort this game. He gets to the free throw line 4 different times in this game. Has some crazy plays, has some attacks on the rim. He does, I think, make his defensive impact shown really well here. Again, this is a game where both OKC and the Spurs played pretty loose with the basketball. I mean, the Spurs actually won the turnover battle 15-16 by 1 here. And you see Castle with 3 steals and 3 turnovers, 6 assists here. Overall, a pretty good Stephon Castle game. I mean, you can't ask for too much more here out of a young guard. The 5 fouls. I mean, again, not trying to be that guy, but I don't think that these are 5 real fouls. I think 2 or 3 maybe fouls. 3 might be even generous. I think really 2 were fouls here. And yeah, so overall, I like what Castle has done. Castle comes out post game and he talks about the ref and saying, and I think he's talking mainly about what happens with him, where you see an intense defense. And this is no disrespect to the OKC defense. I think, other than what I see out of really like Caruso and Lou Dort, this defense is elite. Like what I see out of Chet every day is elite defense. But I will say that I do not think that Castle did anything different than the Lou Dorts of the world, than the Chets of the world. He's just the one that gets penalized for it, and he mentions that in the broadcast, or not in the broadcast. Yeah, in the post game interview, and I if he gets fined for it, and I don't see any fines go towards these refs, I might actually lose it. If Mitch Johnson gets fined for that technical foul, I might actually lose it. This is incredible stuff here. Incredible stuff. De'Aaron Fox, pretty lackluster game from him as well. He started off really poorly. After that, he did kind of heat up in it for a little bit, making like 2 straight of his little get in the rim, push back, open up space, and get in there kind of plays. But really nothing spectacular out of De'Aaron Fox here. I did like how he only did have that 1 turnover, but it did feel like he was putting the ball in the correct hands to make plays this game more than scoring himself. So again, De'Aaron Fox, not the worst game from him. Dylan Harper has quietly had a couple of stinkers in a row. And, like, it's fine because he's young. But at the same time, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, and I think what's been mentioned a million times. OKC's bench is so deep, and the Spurs have been showing in this series that they're not as deep as everyone thinks. It's just their bench is better than other benches, other than OKC's, obviously. And you don't get a good game here out of Dylan Harper. You do always get the intensity out of Dylan Harper, which is something that I love. Offensively, defensively, he will always give you his all. But yeah, I just need a better scoring performance here. I need more than 5 shots taken, better shots taken at the rim. I don't want him to be just like taking shots because they're forced. But I do think that there was a point in time in this game where Spurs kind of panic a little bit, which is crazy to think about because OKC didn't panic when they were losing by 20 last game, and the Spurs come in here and they panic when they're losing by 10. And I think that goes to show like how consistently they've been ahead in games and how they're not really used to really dealing with this come from behind mentality. And at this point it's not looking like the Spurs are going to advance. I'm going to be candid about it. I would love for it to happen. I'm not saying there's no chance, but the winner of game 5 I think wins the series 2 out of every 3 times. So yeah, I think this is a good lesson for all these Spurs, especially the ones that will be back. And I think that honestly, if I had a choice here, every single player would come back. I know that's not always going to happen, and front office and the people around it, and some people believe that De'Aaron Fox and Luke Cornett should be traded. I don't think that you're getting better than those two really right now, but yeah. I do want to talk here a little bit about Luke Cornett. I mean, Wemby plays another 37 and a half minutes here, and you see the filler minutes come in with Luke Cornett. But Luke Cornett is becoming unplayable in this series. I mean, 0 points, 1 rebound, 0 assists with 3 fouls in 8 minutes. That's horrible. And I'm a big Luke Cornett guy. I like what he does. I like his little patented two-hand contest. But I think the fact that he doesn't even do that anymore may be a sign that, I don't know, he's not putting it in his all. There's something off about him. But yeah, I'm just not seeing the Luke Cornett that I saw in the regular season take over for Wemby. I'm not seeing the Luke Cornett who made it possible for Wemby to have 1,800 minutes played on the season and still be a top 3 MVP candidate. Yeah, I think we got some great Carter Bryant minutes here today. I really wish that he played more like real time. He shoots the ball efficiently here, 7 points. I know for a fact at least 5 of those were in real time. Maybe 2 of these were either when I'm not looking or during garbage time here. But yeah, 2 fouls. Obviously, there's the viral clip of him tearing up a little bit after the previous game when he had 4 fouls and nothing else. But I think this game really showed Carter Bryant growth. I wish he played a little bit more, but I understand where your player who's a rookie doesn't have a good game. Was it 2 games ago? You're not going to put that much of a payload on him this game, but it was his defensive intensity and what he really does on the ball. He's just consistently been good for us, and in a game where we've lost the entire way through, I would like to see a little bit of a switch up here from Mitch Johnson instead of tightening the rotation. Mainly because we have this dynamic guard set. Yeah. Keldon Johnson, I mean, his best game of this series maybe, and he has 5 fouls. He goes 1 for 4 from 3, but he's shooting 54% overall. There are times where he's on the floor and he doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. It's a little concerning coming from, 6th Man of the Year winner this season, and I think that the Spurs team is the perfect construction, and Keldon Johnson's flaws, while you do see some in the regular season, they're becoming really apparent in the playoffs against this team. And I don't think that we're going to get much better here. You don't really see Harrison Barnes in this game that much, which is interesting. But yeah, I think that's really all I have on the Spurs side of this ball. Again, the big reason why I'm so dejected, I don't have the energy that for all 8 of you who have watched my previous videos have seen, is because of how this game played out. But at the end of the day, they're missing 2 very important players in their rotation. And I mean, offensively, I know we put up more points than we did last game when we had a beat down, but this does not look good at all. And I don't know, even though we have these what are they called, extender refs coming in for game 6, I'm happy when the Spurs get a bias call their way, but at the same time, as a basketball fan who spent the past 7 years without the Spurs in the playoffs, and really since 2017, I don't count those DeMar DeRozan years. Most of y'all don't know me. I'm an avid DeMar DeRozan hater, but yeah, I just don't think that DeRozan. Sorry, I just don't think that this is good for basketball. And I don't know if this means that we win the next game because we have the extender refs. That's great, but what are we doing game 7? Are we giving OKC their refs? Are we mixing it up? Are we doing completely new refs and we're just basically doing a Super Bowl style game 7? Like, I, that's the thing that I'm just thinking about now as well. Like, I'm not saying that the NBA is rigged, but if we literally have a term coined extender refs, which is actually pretty widely accepted, it's talked about in media and everything. Like, how are we okay with this? I don't want OKC to have extender refs in Game 5. I don't want the Spurs to have extender refs in Game 6. A clean 7 games of basketball, please. I don't. It's a 7-game series for a reason. We don't need to force 7 games out of these two teams. These two teams could, on their own, probably make 7 games. And if you were that scared that the Spurs were going to take 4-1 or that Thunder were going to take 4-1, what else does that do for you other than build more hype around the team? If they do it cleanly. If the Thunder win this series cleanly, I have no problem with it. If the Spurs win this series cleanly, I have no problem with it. We don't need to make Game 7s like they're the Super Bowl just for, what, a ratings boost? Again, I'm not saying that this is intentional by any means, but it's starting to look like it is. And I don't really know what else to say here. Like, that's the end of the video, I guess. Yeah, Game 6, 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, May 28th, and I'm assuming Saturday will be Game 7. Yep, Saturday is Game 7 at 5 p.m. back in OKC, so really hoping that it does make it to 7. If it doesn't make it to 7, I'm gonna be dejected for a little bit, but I'm gonna look back on this year and realize that these Spurs were never supposed to make it this far, and we had a great year. But yeah, for everyone who's been watching these, sorry if I rambled a little bit today about the referees. I promise you, normally I am a little bit more sane about my takes with the referees. I just think that this kind of game, and I had the idea I was going to come in here screaming, so I'm glad I took my nice little brisk walk outside today in the cool air before I came on here, because I probably would have woken my entire family up with that shit. But yeah, all right. See you guys get after Game 6, and go Spurs go.